there comes a night when even the strongest souls feel tired of being strong. When you look at your life and whisper, you pray, you try, you wait, but somehow joy feels far away. And yet, deep down, something inside you still believes there's more to feel, more to live, more to become. Maybe that's why you're here. Because you were never meant to chase happiness. You were meant to remember it. There's a kind of happiness that doesn't come from success or people or plans that finally work. It comes from silence, from faith, from surrender. The kind of happiness that whispers, even here, even now, I still trust the one who wrote my story. That's the happiness that heals you. That's the happiness that turns ordinary moments into prayer. And that's the happiness your soul has been craving. The one you forgot how to feel. Stay till the end, because what you're about to hear is not just a reminder, it's a return. A return to the version of you that still believes in light, even when surrounded by darkness. A return to the heart that smiles, not because everything is perfect, but because it finally understands. Even your joy is a way of saying thank you. The strongest light is the one you choose in dark. When everything around you feels dark, that's when your soul starts to speak. The world may tell you that light is found in success, laughter, or comfort, but the truest light is the one you build inside your chest when life gives you none. There are moments when you wake up and the sky looks gray, not because of the weather, but because of the weight you carry inside. You sit there, quiet, thinking, why does everything feel so heavy? And still, somewhere deep in that silence, a small voice whispers, keep going, just breathe, I'm with you. That whisper, that faint strength that refuses to die, is the first spark of your light. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's real. And it begins to grow each time you choose hope over despair. You see, life will test you. It will take away people, moments, and plans. It will confuse you, delay you, and sometimes break you in ways you never expected. But every time you choose not to let the darkness control your heart, you are proving that pain cannot own you. There's a special kind of beauty in the heart that still believes while it's breaking. Anyone can smile when the world claps for them. But the one who smiles in silence, with no audience, no recognition, that person has discovered something the world cannot give. When you whisper thank you in moments that make no sense, you're not pretending to be strong. You're teaching your soul that gratitude is not about comfort, it's about trust. There's strength in sitting alone and saying, I don't understand what's happening, but I know I'm being guided. That single thought transforms your pain into purpose. It turns fear into faith. Sometimes your heart will cry quietly, not because you're weak, but because it's cleaning itself. Tears are not a sign of losing faith. They're proof that you still care, that you still feel, that you still believe. And every tear that falls is watering a seed inside you. A seed of patience, strength, and wisdom that will bloom later. You might think your light is gone, but maybe it's just learning to glow differently. The sun doesn't always shine. Sometimes it hides behind clouds. But even then, it's still there, warming the earth unseen. Your light is the same. Don't measure your strength by how loud your happiness sounds. Measure it by how quietly your heart keeps trusting when nobody sees it. That silent faith, that's the light no darkness can take. There will be nights when sleep won't come easily. Your mind will replay old memories, old words, old wounds. You'll wonder if healing is ever going to arrive. But in those nights when you place your hand on your chest and whisper, I'll be okay, you are lighting a small candle inside the storm, and the storm begins to lose its power. Your peace doesn't have to shout. It can be as soft as breathing. It can live quietly beneath all the noise of your pain. Every time you take one small step forward, even with fear in your heart, that is light moving through you. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be sincere. You see, pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to carve you into someone deeper, gentler, stronger. It burns away pride, ego and attachment until what remains is pure trust. And that's what the darkness is for, to show you the light you've carried all along. Sometimes the people around you won't understand. They'll think you're fine because you smile, but only you know the battles that happen inside your chest every day. Only you know how many times you broke and rebuilt yourself quietly. That is sacred. That's between you and the one who watches in silence. The more you keep choosing hope, the more your light grows in secret. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need applause. It just needs your willingness to believe that better days will come. And they will. Not because the pain disappears, but because your heart learns how to live with peace even when the pain stays. You will learn that your happiness doesn't depend on what happens to you. It depends on what you choose to hold inside you. Hold gratitude, hold trust, hold patience. Even when the road feels endless, every step you take is proof that the darkness didn't win. Every moment you choose kindness instead of anger, peace instead of panic, you're feeding that inner light. You might feel invisible right now, but one day your light will guide someone else out of their darkness, because the way you survived will become their map. So don't hide your scars. They're not shame, they're shining marks of endurance. Each one says, I've been through the night, but I never stopped looking for dawn. And that's what makes your soul so rare. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more hearts that refuse to let darkness define them. Hearts that still choose compassion after being broken. Hearts that still see beauty in small things, in a sunrise, a kind word, a moment of silence. That's what real light looks like. It's not loud, it's not flawless. It's gentle, quiet, and unshakable. So even when everything feels cold and hopeless, don't stop choosing that light, because that choice made again and again is the purest form of faith, and faith like that can turn any darkness into dawn. Pain is not a punishment, it's an invitation. There comes a time in every person's life when pain arrives like an uninvited guest. Itine, you didn't ask for it, you didn't expect it, and yet it knocks at your heart's door and refuses to leave. You sit in silence wondering, why me? Why now? You replay every moment, every choice, every mistake, trying to find the reason why life suddenly feels so heavy. But what if pain is not a punishment? What if it's a quiet invitation, a message from above, whispering to you, come back to what truly matters? Pain has a way of doing what comfort never could. It forces you to stop, to think, to reflect. It breaks the illusions you built, the illusion that you were in control, that people could fill the emptiness inside, that your plans were enough to secure peace. When pain enters, it doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to realign you. It strips away everything false until only the truth remains. Sometimes we forget our purpose when life feels easy. We get lost in noise, in speed, in comfort. But pain slows everything down. It brings you back to the center of your heart. It reminds you of who you are and who you belong to. You see, the most beautiful souls you'll ever meet are not the ones who've never suffered. They are the ones who've been shattered and still chose to love again. They're the ones who've been broken and still chose to be kind. Pain doesn't close their hearts. It opens them wider. Because pain, when understood, becomes the door to awakening. When everything falls apart, it's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your becoming. Every tear that falls is washing away what no longer serves you. Every loss that shakes you is preparing space for something better. Every disappointment that humbles you is teaching your heart how to truly depend on what lasts. We often think life is falling apart, but in truth, it's falling into place just differently than we planned. There are moments you look at the sky and say, I can't do this anymore. And yet somehow you wake up the next day and do it again. That's not coincidence. That's divine strength being poured into you. Pain makes you real. It cuts away everything fake. It teaches you who truly cares and who only clapped when you were shining. And it shows you how temporary everything is and how permanent the soul becomes when it learns to surrender. You might think your heart is breaking, but maybe it's just stretching, making more room for understanding, for patience, for love. There's a kind of peace that only pain can teach. It's the peace that comes after nights of crying, after you've run out of words, after your plans have failed. You sit in silence and finally you say, I don't understand this, but I trust it. That moment, that surrender is the very beginning of wisdom. You see, pain will push you to places you never wanted to go. وَتُوجَمَا عَلَيْهِمْ النَّامَةِ, but it will lead you to everything you were meant to find. It will make you meet parts of yourself you never knew existed. Your courage, your patience, your faith. It's strange, isn't it? How the things that break us often become the things that build us. How the loss that once made you cry later becomes the story that gives someone else hope. That's the hidden purpose of pain. It connects souls through empathy. It turns wounds into bridges. It teaches you compassion so deep that when you see someone else struggling, you can look into their eyes and silently say, I understand. Sometimes the pain doesn't go away quickly. Sometimes it stays for years. And in those years, it changes you completely. You become softer, quieter, wiser. You stop chasing noise and start valuing peace. You stop needing attention and start craving presence. Pain teaches you what really matters and what never did. It reminds you that everything in this world is temporary. The joy, the sorrow, the people, the plans. And when you truly see that, you stop holding on so tightly to what was never meant to stay. When you stop fighting what's gone, you start making space for what's coming. Pain will always be part of life, but suffering is a choice. You suffer when you resist what was always meant to happen. You suffer when you keep asking why. Instead of asking what now, pain asks you to listen, to slow down, to sit with yourself long enough to hear the lessons hiding beneath the ache. Every broken dream carries a hidden message that you were meant for something bigger. Every unanswered prayer carries a hidden answer, that not getting what you wanted was the mercy. Sometimes pain closes one door so that your heart can stop knocking on walls that were never doors to begin with. Don't run from pain. Don't drown it with distractions or hide it under smiles. Face it gently, with faith in your heart. Because when you face it, it starts to lose its power to control you. You will start to see patterns that every pain you've ever gone through taught you something essential for the next chapter. You'll realize that the pain you felt years ago prepared you for the patience you have now. That the heartbreak that shattered you built the wisdom that protects you today. Pain has purpose. It's not random. It's not cruel. It's crafted perfectly to shape the person you're meant to become. You may not see it while it's happening. Most people never do. But one day you look back and say, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am now. That realization doesn't erase the pain, but it redeems it. It gives meaning to the mess. And when pain gains meaning, it loses the power to destroy you. So if you're hurting right now, please know this. Your pain is not a punishment. You're not being abandoned. You're being invited to grow, to heal, to come closer to the truth of who you are. Pain is not the end. It's the door that leads you to a higher level of understanding. It's the fire that purifies, not the one that burns. Stay close to that understanding. Breathe through the ache, because someday the same pain will become the very reason you smile. You'll tell your story and someone else will find hope in it. And in that moment, you'll understand it was never a punishment. It was always a path. Happiness begins where expectations end. There comes a moment in life when you realize that most of your sadness doesn't come from what actually happened. It comes from how you expected life to be. You thought people would stay. You thought plans would work. You thought effort always brings reward. But life has its own rhythm. It doesn't always move according to your timing. And sometimes it hurts because it teaches you what control really means, that you never truly had it. Expectations are heavy. They quietly build walls around your heart. You expect love to look a certain way. You expect friends to understand you without words. You expect success to arrive when you're ready for it. And when reality doesn't match that picture, you feel betrayed, disappointed, lost. But maybe the betrayal isn't from life. Maybe it's from the illusion you built in your mind. Every time you expect perfection, you set yourself up for heartbreak. Because this world was never designed to be perfect. It was designed to shape you through imperfection. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You stop tying your peace to things you can't control. Peace begins when you say, I will do my best and I will trust whatever happens next. That single shift in your heart is the line between exhaustion and freedom. You will notice it the day you stop chasing how people see you and start focusing on how you see yourself. The moment you stop expecting others to fill your emptiness and start learning to sit with your own soul, that's when happiness quietly enters. Because true happiness doesn't come from being understood by others. It comes from understanding yourself. You see, the more you expect from people, the more you hand them power over your emotions. And the more you expect from life, the more you forget the beauty of what's already here. Happiness doesn't live in tomorrow. It hides in the small things you overlook while planning your future. It's in the morning light touching your face. It's in the laughter that comes out of nowhere. It's in forgiveness, in simplicity, in slowing down enough to breathe. The world tells you to keep wanting more, but peace whispers you already have enough. The moment you let go of how you think life should look, you begin to notice how beautiful it already is. You might lose things, you might lose people, but you'll gain something priceless. Contentment. Contentment doesn't shout. It sits quietly in your chest and says, I can be okay even here. Every time you loosen your grip on what's outside your control, although your soul breathes easier. You stop trying to force life and start flowing with it. It's like learning to float. The more you struggle, the more you sink. But the moment you relax, the water begins to hold you. That's how peace works. The more you fight to make everything perfect, the more life feels heavy. But the moment you surrender, you rise. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting that even the things you didn't plan are still part of a greater plan that's working for your good. Sometimes the things you didn't get were actually the things that would have broken you. Sometimes the people who left were the ones blocking your growth. And sometimes the delay you hated was protection wearing the face of disappointment. How many times have you cried for something only to realize years later it wasn't good for you at all? That's what letting go reveals. That what you thought was rejection was really redirection. Peace lives in that realization. Every moment you release your grip on control, you grow lighter. You start smiling again, not because life is perfect, but because you're no longer trying to make it be. You stop holding people hostage to your happiness. You stop needing validation for your worth. You stop chasing love that doesn't see you. Instead, you start noticing quiet miracles. The sound of rain, the warmth of your bed, the fact that you made it through another day. That's happiness. Not grand, not loud, but calm, honest, real. Letting go doesn't mean you lose everything. It means you finally have room for what's real. You stop expecting the world to give you peace and you start learning how to create it within yourself. You stop expecting people to complete you. You stop and realize you were never incomplete. You stop expecting happiness to arrive and start recognizing it was always waiting inside you. The heaviest burdens aren't physical, they're emotional expectations that never came true. The person who was supposed to love you didn't. The opportunity that was supposed to change your life failed. The timing you prayed for never arrived. But look at you now. You're still standing. You've survived disappointments that once felt unbearable. You've found strength in silence. You've learned that peace doesn't come from getting what you want. It comes from being okay even when you don't. And that's when happiness begins. When your peace no longer depends on the conditions of your life. The truth is, every expectation you release brings you closer to freedom. When you expect less, you experience more. When you stop planning every detail, you start living in wonder. When you stop expecting others to understand, you begin to feel understood by the one who never leaves. This kind of happiness can't be shaken by disappointment because it doesn't depend on anyone else. It's rooted in trust, the kind that says, whatever happens, I'll find meaning in it. And once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never go back to chasing what's temporary. Let the world rush, you stay still. Let others compete, you find calm. Because true success is not getting everything you expect. It's finding joy even when you don't. So slow down, release the pressure. Stop trying to fix what was never broken. Your life doesn't need to look perfect to be beautiful. You are exactly where you're meant to be. Learning how to breathe, how to trust, how to smile without needing a reason. And when you finally stop demanding life to be something else, you'll see it was never life holding your happiness hostage. It was your expectations. The moment you set them free, you set yourself free. That's when your heart truly begins to live. Your wounds are pathways for light. There are moments in life when pain cuts so deep that you start to believe you'll never recover. You look in the mirror and hardly recognize yourself. The laughter you once had feels distant. The spark in your eyes fades. You start asking, why did this have to happen? But here's something you often forget. Every wound, no matter how painful, has light hidden inside it. Your pain isn't proof that you're cursed or forgotten. It's proof that your heart is still alive enough to feel. Sometimes life breaks you open so that light can finally reach the parts of you that were never touched before. You see, when everything is going well, we rarely stop to look within. We rarely pause long enough to ask, who am I becoming? But when life brings pain, when your heart cracks, when your world changes, that's when the real work begins. The wound becomes a doorway. Through that doorway, wisdom walks in quietly. Through that doorway, compassion learns to breathe. Through that doorway, strength is born. You might not see it now, but the very thing that broke you is shaping you into someone softer, deeper, wiser. Pain is not the end of you, it's the sculptor that's redefining who you are. Think of a seed buried underground. From the outside, it looks like death, dark soil pressing on every side. But within that darkness, something sacred is happening. It's splitting open, surrendering to growth. Your pain works the same way. It cracks the shell of your old self so your true self can emerge. You're not being destroyed, you're being transformed. Every heartbreak you've endured made you see what love really means. Every loss taught you how fragile this world is and how precious each moment becomes when you realize that. Every failure removed another layer of pride and reminded you you were never meant to rely only on yourself. Pain humbles you. It quiets the noise. It removes the masks. It teaches you to sit in silence, to breathe slowly, to listen to your soul. And in that silence, you start hearing things you missed before. Kindness, gratitude, empathy. You begin to see others' pain as if it were your own. You start to understand that everyone carries invisible wounds. And that realization changes everything. You stop judging. You stop rushing. You start caring differently. Because pain has made your heart gentle. And that gentleness that softness, that's the light. Many people think light is only found in joy. But the truth is, light hides in the darkest corners of your life, waiting to be noticed. It hides in every scar, every tear, every lesson. It hides in the strength it took you just to keep breathing. You are not broken beyond repair. You are becoming through repair. The scar doesn't mean you've lost, it means you survived. Look at your scars with love. They are proof that the storm hit you, but it didn't destroy you. They're reminders that you can bend without breaking. They're symbols of resilience. If you look closely, you'll see something beautiful. The places where you were once wounded often become the places where others find healing through you. Because the moment you speak about what you've endured, you give someone else permission to heal too. That's the miracle of pain. It multiplies light when shared. The crack in your heart allows empathy to shine through. It makes you someone who doesn't just comfort with words, but with understanding, the kind that comes only from experience. Every time you forgive someone who hurt you, your light grows stronger. Every time you choose patience instead of bitterness, your light expands. Every time you rise again after falling, heaven itself smiles upon your strength. And this is how pain becomes sacred. It becomes the bridge between who you were and who you're destined to be. You see, a wound forces you to slow down. It makes you pay attention to the parts of you that need care. It shows you where love must return. And as you tend to those places with patience, the healing becomes your prayer. Sometimes you look at the sky and say, I can't take it anymore. And yet you do. Somehow you get through another day. You find one more reason to stand, one more reason to hope, that somehow that's grace. That's the light moving silently through your wounds. And when you finally heal, you look back and see that pain was never your enemy. It was your teacher. It brought you closer to what matters. It showed you the difference between temporary comfort and eternal peace. When you let your wounds teach you instead of define you, they become sacred. They remind you that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering with peace instead of pain. And if you're still in the middle of that process, don't rush it. Healing takes time. There's no deadline for becoming whole. Every day that you choose gentleness instead of self-blame, you're healing. Every night you let yourself cry without guilt, you're healing. Every time you tell yourself, I'm trying my best, you're healing. Even the smallest step counts. And slowly, without realizing it, you'll notice that the pain doesn't hurt the same anymore. It still exists, but it no longer controls you. You start to breathe easier. You start to notice beauty again. You start to smile, not because everything's fixed, but because you've changed inside. You realize that your wound didn't weaken you, it widened your heart. And through that widened space, more light enters. So don't hide what you've been through. Let it shine. Tell your story, because someone, somewhere is waiting to hear that it's possible to survive. You've walked through darkness and still carry light in your eyes. That alone makes you extraordinary. Pain shaped you into someone who feels deeper, loves truer, forgives faster. It took the sharp edges of your heart and smoothed them into tenderness. And that tenderness is proof of strength, not weakness. You have become a lantern for others, a living reminder that brokenness can still glow. Keep walking. Keep shining through the cracks, because those cracks are how the world sees your light. And one day, you'll understand that the wound wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to make you luminous. Gratitude is the silent door to peace. There are days when life feels so ordinary that you stop noticing the blessings around you. You open your eyes, rush into routine, and forget that waking up itself is a miracle. You breathe, walk, speak, hear, and move through the world as if these things are owed to you. Until one day, something small breaks and you realize how fragile it all really is. Gratitude begins the moment you notice. The moment you pause long enough to say, I didn't have to have this, but I do. It doesn't need fireworks or big words. Sometimes it's as quiet as a single deep breath that says, I'm still here. We often think gratitude is something we offer when life is perfect. When the bills are paid, when the people we love are close, when things finally go our way. But that's not gratitude, that's relief. Real gratitude is born in the middle of the mess. It's saying thank you, not because everything is easy, but because even in the storm, there's still something holding you together. Peace begins there inside that. Thank you. You see, the heart can't hold fear and gratitude at the same time. One always quiets the other. Every time you choose to be thankful, even for the smallest thing, you are teaching your heart to calm down. You're reminding yourself that there's more right than wrong, even when your mind can only see the wrong. Gratitude turns ordinary days into sacred moments. It turns simple meals into feasts. It turns a roof over your head into a palace. It turns the sound of laughter into music. It changes how you see the world. Not by changing what you have, but by changing how you look at it. There was a time you prayed for the things you have now. The peace, the safety, the food, the people, the small bits of comfort. But when blessings stay too long, they start to look invisible. You forget that others would trade everything they have for what you take for granted. That's why gratitude must be practiced. It's a discipline, not just a feeling. You train your eyes to see what's already there. You train your tongue to say thank you before complaining. You train your soul to notice the gentle details, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the taste of water when you're thirsty, the way your heart still beats after heartbreak. Each of these moments is an invitation to peace. Peace doesn't live in luxury or noise, it lives in awareness. Gratitude is how you unlock it. When you stop comparing your life to others, when you stop measuring what's missing and start cherishing what's still here, the anxiety begins to fade. The heart finds rest in what it already has. You start to understand that happiness isn't about collecting more. It's about appreciating better. Even your struggles hold hidden gifts. The delay taught you patience. The rejection taught you self-respect. The failure taught you humility. The loss taught you compassion. You don't have to love the pain, but you can still be grateful for the wisdom it left behind. Sometimes gratitude is just sitting quietly after a long day, feeling tired but safe and whispering, I made it. Sometimes it's remembering the people who didn't make it this far and realizing how precious your own journey is. You might not have everything you want, but you still have so much that someone else is praying for tonight. Gratitude doesn't erase problems, it shrinks them. When your eyes are on blessings, your problems lose their power. They become smaller, manageable, almost gentle, because your heart remembers that even in difficulty, you are never completely empty. You still have the gift of choice. You still have the chance to begin again. You still have the one who wakes you up every morning and says, try one more time. That realization alone can quiet 1,000 worries. There's peace in saying, I may not have everything, but I have enough for today. There's peace in not needing to understand everything before trusting that it will make sense one day. There's peace in smiling at what's here instead of longing for what's gone. Every time you choose gratitude, your world changes slightly. Your mind becomes softer. Your heart becomes lighter. The same life begins to look different. It's not that life suddenly gets easier, it's that you start noticing the mercy hiding inside it. The cup was never empty, you were just looking from the wrong angle. Gratitude teaches you to look again, to see blessings where others see routine, to see lessons where others see loss, to see beginnings where others see endings. It reminds you that peace is not something you chase. It's something you recognize when you slow down enough to see it was always with you. The simplest thank you can transform the heaviest day. You might wake up tired with a heart full of worry, but the moment you whisper, thank you for this chance to try again, you shift the entire energy of your soul. You walk through the same world, but now the air feels softer. The colors feel brighter, the problems feel smaller, because gratitude doesn't change life from the outside, it heals you from the inside. And once you begin to heal from within, the noise of the world stops mattering so much. You don't crave validation. You don't fear delay. You stop running after things that can't give peace, and you start guarding the peace that already lives inside you. Gratitude builds a home in your heart, a quiet space where you can rest even while life moves fast. It becomes your safe place, your invisible shield, your constant reminder that you are held. You will still face challenges, but you'll handle them differently. You'll see them not as interruptions, but as part of the story. You learn to say, I'm thankful even for this, because somehow it will lead me to growth. And one day, you'll realize that gratitude didn't just make you peaceful, it made you powerful. Because nothing can shake a person who finds something to be thankful for in every situation. That's the kind of strength that doesn't shout. It glows quietly from within. And that glow is what others will call peace. Sometimes gratitude doesn't come naturally. You try to be thankful, but your heart feels numb. You look around and think, there's nothing left to smile about. But that's when gratitude becomes most powerful, because it's no longer a reaction, it's a choice. Being thankful when everything feels wrong is one of the strongest forms of faith. It's telling your pain, you won't control me today. It's whispering, there's still light somewhere, I'll find it. When life is gentle, gratitude is easy. When life is hard, gratitude becomes sacred. It turns from a simple word into an act of worship. Not because you love the storm, but because you trust that the storm still belongs to mercy. Some days gratitude sounds like laughter. Other days it sounds like silence. Just breathing, just surviving, just holding on. But both count. Both mean your heart still knows where to look for light. When you train yourself to look for blessings, your eyes begin to change. You start seeing gifts in places others ignore. A stranger's smile, a child's laughter echoing in the street, the scent of rain after a dry day. You start to see life itself as a message, a love letter written in small miracles. Gratitude doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means acknowledging that not everything is perfect and still finding reasons to be thankful anyway. It's honesty mixed with hope. Sometimes you'll cry while saying thank you, and that's okay. Those tears are not weakness, they're cleansing. They're washing away resentment, fear, and comparison. They're making space for peace to grow again. The heart that practices gratitude becomes lighter with time. You stop blaming the past for your unhappiness. You stop fearing the future for your peace. You begin to live in the now, in this breath, this moment, this second. And that's where peace has always been waiting. Every morning you wake up with two choices: to start the day counting what's missing, or to start it counting what's present. The first choice drains you. The second choice fills you. Even one thankful thought can shift your energy. One moment of noticing I still have air in my lungs can silence an ocean of anxiety. Gratitude is like a key. It opens doors you didn't know were locked. When you say thank you for the small things, you invite bigger things to enter, because appreciation expands what you appreciate. Think of your heart as a garden. Each thankful thought is a seed. At first, it doesn't look like much, but keep planting every day. Another one. Soon you'll see small flowers blooming where bitterness once grew. That's what gratitude does. It transforms the landscape of your soul. You'll begin to attract peace naturally. You'll feel calmer in conversations. You'll forgive faster. You'll complain less. And you'll notice that even when life throws difficulties at you, your heart doesn't panic the way it used to. Gratitude gives you balance. It keeps you steady when emotions rise and fall. It reminds you that joy isn't found in control, it's found in surrender. Surrender to the moment. Surrender to what is. Surrender to the realization that life was never meant to be perfect, only meaningful. Sometimes the most grateful people are those who lost the most, because pain made them notice what really matters. They've seen what life looks like without health, without love, without comfort. And when those things return, even in small doses, they value them deeply. That's why the wisest hearts are often the ones with the deepest scars. Gratitude takes you out of the story of why me and brings you into the story of thank you for even this. It doesn't erase pain, but it allows light to coexist with it. It says, I can be hurting and still thankful. I can be unsure and still hopeful. You start to realize that gratitude is not something you do once, it's something you live. You breathe it, you speak it, you walk in it. You start noticing the hidden mercy in your hardships. The friend who stayed when others left, the strength that appeared when you thought you couldn't go on, the lesson that saved you from repeating old mistakes. Every one of these moments is a quiet message. You are still being cared for, and the more you see that care, the more peace you feel, not because life becomes easier, but because you finally stop resisting it. The heart that resists life is heavy. The heart that accepts life with gratitude is free. Gratitude won't always change your situation, but it will always change you. It will turn your worry into wisdom, your anger into understanding, your emptiness into space for new blessings to arrive. And when new blessings do come, you'll recognize them instantly, because a grateful heart is never blind to miracles. Before you sleep tonight, try this simple thought. Today wasn't perfect, but it was still full of gifts. You'll feel your body relax. Your breathing will slow. Your mind will soften. That's peace. The kind that gratitude quietly builds. If tomorrow comes, start the day the same way. One small thank you. Then another. Then another. That's how gratitude grows. Not in leaps, but in gentle, consistent breaths. Over time, you'll notice something extraordinary. The world around you won't change much, but the world inside you will feel completely different. And that inner world is where true peace lives. So even when life feels ordinary, pause for a moment, look around, listen. There's always something whispering, be thankful for this. Sometimes it's the quiet hum of the morning. Sometimes it's the laughter of someone you love. Sometimes it's just your heartbeat reminding you you're still here. And that alone is reason enough. The heart that chooses faith over feeling. There will be days when your heart feels quiet. Days when prayer feels heavy. Days when you speak, yet the silence answers louder than your words. It is in those moments you begin to learn what faith truly is. Faith is not fireworks. It is not a constant rush of inspiration. Faith is steady. It breathes in the dark. When everything else sleeps, you will not always feel connected. And that's okay, because faith is not a feeling, it is a decision. It is the voice that whispers, I still believe, even when emotion walks away. Feelings come and go like the weather, sometimes bright and warm, sometimes cold and cloudy. If you build your faith on feelings, your peace will rise and fall with every change of the sky. But if you build your faith on trust, it stands unshaken in every season. When your heart feels numb and distant, you may think something is wrong with you. You may wonder, where did my connection go? But that emptiness is not the end of faith. It's part of its training. It teaches you to love without reward, to stay without excitement, to pray not for comfort but for closeness. Real faith begins when motivation ends. When you bow your head, not because you feel inspired, but because you promised never to give up on the one who never gave up on you. Sometimes your heart will feel heavy for no reason. You'll want to cry, but no tears will come. You'll want to rest, but peace will hide. And still you keep going. That still is everything. That still is the sound of a soul refusing to surrender. Faith doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's just breathing through confusion. Sometimes it's the act of sitting in silence and saying, I don't know what you're doing, but I know you're doing it for my good. It's easy to trust when life feels soft. It's harder when it feels silent. but silence doesn't mean absence. Sometimes it's the space where growth takes place. Think of a seed under the ground. It cannot see the sun, yet it still pushes upward. It does not feel light, yet it believes in it. That's what faith looks like when you can't feel anything. Faith says, even here I'm being grown. The world often teaches you to follow your feelings. But feelings are waves, beautiful, but temporary. Faith is the anchor that holds when waves crash. It doesn't remove the storm, it keeps you from drifting away in it. There will be times when prayer feels mechanical. You'll speak but won't feel heard. Your mind will wander, your words will stumble, and you'll finish thinking, was that even worth it? Yes, it was. Because faith is not measured by how emotional you were. God, it's measured by how loyal you remained. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is simply showing up. Showing up to pray, showing up to be kind, showing up to keep your heart open even when it's tired. Each time you do, you're polishing your soul. When the heart chooses faith over feeling, it becomes stronger than circumstance. It no longer depends on mood to be kind or on reward to be grateful. It simply lives with quiet trust. Trust that there is wisdom in waiting. Trust that every delay has purpose. Trust that even silence is filled with unseen care. You may not feel it now, but faith often grows best in hidden seasons. When life feels ordinary, when routine feels dull, when your spirit feels like it's standing still, that's when your roots are deepening. The tree doesn't make noise while growing roots. You can't see progress, but it's happening underground. One day the branches will rise again, but for now, the unseen work continues. Faith works like that. It digs quietly beneath the surface, and while you wonder if you're growing, your soul is anchoring itself deeper into truth. Don't mistake stillness for stagnation. Don't confuse quiet for distance. The calm between storms is where strength is built. There will come a day when emotion returns, when you pray and feel every word again, when peace rushes in like fresh air after a long night, and you'll realize the silence wasn't wasted. It was preparing you for the softness. Faith chosen in darkness creates gratitude in light, because you'll remember what it took to stay. Maybe right now you feel empty. Maybe you're tired of pretending that you're strong. Maybe the world has drained you and you wonder if your heart still believes. It does. Even in doubt, belief hums quietly beneath the noise. Even in fear, trust flickers like a small flame refusing to die. You don't have to shout your faith to make it real. You just have to hold on to it gently like a candle in the wind. Protect it, nurture it. Even if it's small, it's enough. A single spark is enough to guide you home. When your emotions are loud, let faith whisper. When your doubts are heavy, let faith breathe in. When your mind says, I can't, let your heart say, I'll try one more time. That's how the heart grows stronger. Not by always feeling good, but by always choosing good. Faith teaches patience. It tells you that every unanswered prayer is still a conversation that's being listened to. It tells you that the one who wrote your story has already planned the turning points. You just haven't reached them yet. So be kind to yourself in the waiting. Don't let guilt convince you that feeling numb means failure. Even prophets had moments of exhaustion. Even saints felt alone, but they kept walking. You are allowed to have low days. You are allowed to question. You are allowed to feel lost. What matters is that you keep walking through it with honesty and trust, because one step taken with faith is worth more than 100 taken with excitement. Faith chosen in the dark is stronger than faith spoken in the light. Keep choosing, keep trusting, keep showing up, even when your heart is quiet. Your effort is being seen. Even when your words feel empty, they are still reaching the one who never leaves. And when you look back, you'll see that the moments you thought you were falling were actually the moments you were being carried. Sometimes faith looks like stillness, and stillness feels like nothing. You sit in your room, eyes open but distant, and the mind whispers, what's the point of trying? But the moment you breathe through that thought, you've already chosen faith again. You didn't let despair take full control. You didn't let the pain define who you are. That tiny choice, unseen, uncelebrated, is what keeps your soul alive. Faith is often quiet, almost invisible. It doesn't always come with loud inspiration. Sometimes it's as small as waking up one more morning and saying, I'll try to be a little better today. The world around you may not notice, but heaven writes it down. Every effort, every tear, every small act of trust. Faith isn't about winning against pain. It's about walking with it until it teaches you peace. Your emotions will rise and fall. They will make you love fiercely one day and feel numb the next. They will make you pray passionately and then struggle to whisper even a word. That's okay. Faith was never meant to be constant emotion. It was meant to be constant direction. Even when you drift, you still know where home is. That's faith. Faith doesn't cancel doubt. It just refuses to let doubt be the final word. It says, I don't understand this chapter, but I'll keep reading anyway. There's something beautiful about staying loyal. Even when you don't feel rewarded, it's like planting a seed and walking away, trusting that rain will come one day. When your heart chooses faith over feeling, you stop chasing emotional highs. You begin to value quiet consistency. You begin to realize that stability is more sacred than excitement. Every relationship, every friendship, every dream, they all survive not because of constant happiness, but because of constant commitment. The same is true for your faith. It's not about how loudly you believe, but it's about how faithfully you return when belief feels small. There will be moments when the heart screams, I can't take this anymore. And still, you'll whisper back, I'll keep walking. That whisper will echo through unseen worlds, because every time you choose to keep walking, you prove that love is stronger than exhaustion. You might not realize it now, but choosing faith over feeling is the purest form of love you can show. It means you love truth more than comfort. You love purpose more than pleasure. You love the unseen promise more than the visible reward. And that's rare. That's sacred. When you love with faith, you begin to understand patience differently. You stop waiting with frustration. You start waiting with peace. You understand that what's meant for you is already on its way. You just need to be ready when it arrives. Faith turns waiting into preparation. It transforms silence into conversation. Because deep down you know, nothing in life stays still forever. Every winter has its spring. Every pause hides a plan. Every no is making space for a better yes. When you live with faith, you start to breathe slower. You stop rushing outcomes. You stop demanding constant clarity. You learn that not knowing everything can be its own form of freedom. The need for control fades. The obsession with results softens. And what replaces it is trust. Gentle, steady, quiet trust. That trust becomes your compass. It guides you when you don't know the way. It tells you to rest when you've done enough. It teaches you that surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Sometimes your heart will still ache. You'll still cry, still wonder, still wish. But through every tear, you'll feel a presence that whispers, I am with you through this. That's the beauty of faith. It doesn't promise a life without pain, but it promises that pain will never be wasted. Faith will polish your heart until it learns to shine without reason. It will teach you to forgive, even when forgiveness feels unfair. It will teach you to be gentle in a world that rewards hardness. It will teach you to love even when love isn't returned. And every time you do, you are proving that the unseen light within you is stronger than the darkness around you. People may call you naive for trusting. They may laugh at your calmness. They may not understand how you can still believe after being hurt so many times. But that's because they don't see what faith has already shown you. That peace doesn't come from proof, it comes from trust. The heart that chooses faith no longer panics at every change. It no longer collapses every time life says no. It no longer depends on constant approval. It learns to say, if it's not meant for me, it's protecting me. That kind of peace cannot be taught by logic. It grows only in those who have walked through storms and still believe that the sky would clear. Every heartbreak you've endured, every unanswered prayer, every moment you thought was the end, all of it was training your heart to rely on something higher than emotion. Because emotions will always shift. They are like waves, beautiful, wild, temporary. But faith is the ocean beneath them, vast, steady, eternal. When you start living from that ocean, you stop drowning in the waves. You realize that feelings are not facts. They are weather. They pass, they change. But truth remains. Faith anchors you to that truth. It reminds you that even when your heart feels weak, the one who gave you the heart is still strong. So take a deep breath. Let your feelings come and go. They are not your enemies. They are messengers showing you where healing is still needed. Listen to them, but don't let them drive your life. Let faith drive. And when you do, you'll notice how light the journey becomes. Even when you face new storms, you'll say, I've been here before, I know who carries me. That's maturity. That's peace. Faith will teach you that you can cry and still trust. You can fall and still rise. You can question and still believe. Because faith is not about perfection, it's about persistence. And persistence is the language of love. So tonight, if your feelings are heavy, let your faith speak for you. You don't need fancy words. Just close your eyes and whisper from the heart, I may not feel strong, but I know strength will come again. Say it softly. Say it often, because that's how faith grows. Not in sudden leaps, but in small, consistent whispers. And one day, you'll realize that the heart that once wavered has become unshakable. The same storms that used to break you now bend around you gently. The same silence that used to scare you now feels like peace. Because faith has taken root so deep within you that feelings can no longer pull it out. You will still have emotions. You're human after all. But they will no longer control your direction. They will visit, but they will not stay. They will pass, and faith will remain. And when faith remains, so does calm, so does clarity, so does courage. That is the heart you've been building all along. A heart that chooses truth over noise, trust over fear, and love over mood. That is the heart that stands even when it shakes. That is the heart that prays even when it's unsure. That is the heart that finds peace, even when feelings can't explain it. And that heart is free. You become what you choose to see. There comes a time when you realize that life isn't just about what happens to you. It's about how you see what happens to you. Two people can walk through the same fire. One comes out bitter, the other comes out bright. The difference was never in the fire, it was in their vision. You become what you focus on. You become what you feed your heart. If you look for reasons to complain, you'll find them. If you look for reasons to be grateful, they'll find you. Your eyes are windows to your soul. When they constantly search for flaws, your soul begins to dim. When they search for beauty, even pain starts to sparkle with hidden meaning. Most of us spend years waiting for life to change, but very few learn to change the way they look at life. And that's where the secret of peace hides. You see, your mind is a painter and your thoughts are the brush. Every day, you are painting the world in front of you. If you paint it with fear, it will look frightening. If you paint it with gratitude, it will look safe. If you paint it with trust, it will look purposeful. You can't always control the events around you, but you can always choose the lens through which you see them. When you wake up in the morning, before your body even moves, your first thought begins to shape the world you will live in that day. If it's worry, your world becomes heavy. If it's gratitude, your world becomes lighter. And that single thought, that tiny spark, changes everything. The truth is, life will show you what you expect to see. If you walk into every situation expecting disappointment, you will collect proof that you were right. If you walk in expecting mercy, you'll start seeing small signs of care that were always there, but hidden from impatient eyes. It's not that life suddenly becomes easy. It's that you finally learned how to see the easy parts. Look back for a moment. There were days you thought you wouldn't survive. Yet here you are, breathing, learning, still walking. That alone is proof that your story has more light than you remember. Sometimes the problem isn't the darkness. It's that you stop noticing the stars. When the heart learns to focus on light, darkness loses its meaning. Because darkness is simply the absence of attention, not the absence of hope. You can train your mind to notice beauty again. Start small. Notice the color of the sky after rain. Notice the kindness of a stranger's smile. Notice that despite everything, your heart still beats. Each of these small observations strengthens your inner sight. They teach your soul that peace is not found in big miracles. It's hidden in small, ordinary moments you used to overlook. When you begin to live this way, you'll stop waiting for happiness and start seeing it everywhere. You'll realize that the same day that once felt heavy is actually filled with quiet gifts. A conversation you didn't plan, a song you didn't expect to hear, a breath you didn't think you'd take so easily again. Your life becomes gentler, not because problems vanish, but because perspective changes the temperature of pain. Perspective is the difference between why me and what is this teaching me. Between I lost everything and I learned what truly matters. When your vision shifts from blame to belief, your whole existence begins to heal. There will always be both light and shadow in this world. But your peace depends on where you let your eyes rest. If you stare too long at what's wrong, you'll forget what's still right. If you stare too long at what you lost, you'll miss what's quietly arriving. It's not denial, it's discipline. You're not pretending that pain isn't there. You're simply refusing to give it all your attention. Attention is energy. Where you place it determines what grows. Focus on what's broken and pain multiplies. Focus on what's working and gratitude expands. Your heart was never meant to carry every weight. It was meant to hold faith, light, trusting, unafraid. The next time your mind rushes to find what's missing, pause. Ask yourself, what is still here? You'll notice something miraculous. There is always something left. There's still warmth, still air, still time, still a chance to begin again. The one who learns to see what remains will never feel completely lost. You might be standing in the middle of chaos, but if you look carefully, you'll still see mercy scattered everywhere. In the way you're still being carried, in the strength that keeps returning just when you need it, in the quiet comfort that arrives without words. You become calm when you start recognizing these invisible supports. You stop saying nothing works out for me. You start saying even this will work out somehow. That shift seems small, but it changes the rhythm of your entire life. Because what you see most often becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes who you are. So guard your focus like treasure. Don't waste it on endless comparison. Don't spend it on resentment. Feed it with kindness. Feed it with patience. Feed it with trust. Even if the world looks uncertain, decide to look for goodness. Because goodness is always there. Sometimes quiet, sometimes hidden, but always there. When you start seeing life through that lens, your reflection in the mirror changes too. You begin to smile softer. You breathe deeper. You stop rushing. You stop needing everything to be fixed. You realize that your peace was never missing. It was just buried beneath the noise. And the moment you choose to see differently, you start uncovering it again. When you start choosing to see light, something changes inside you. The same people, the same problems, the same world, but you're no longer reacting the same way. You see, you can't control what enters your life, but you can control how long you let it live inside your mind. The heart becomes peaceful not when life stops being difficult, but when you stop giving every hardship permanent space. There will always be noise around you, opinions, comparisons, expectations, but you decide whether to listen. You decide whether to give the noise meaning. When you learn to choose focus, you take back your power. The world can shake, yet you stay grounded. People can misunderstand you, yet you stay kind. Because now your eyes are trained on something higher. That's what real strength looks like. Not loud, not proud, but calm, collected, and quietly faithful. You'll start to notice something beautiful. When you see the good in others, it awakens the good in you. When you see potential in moments, you start to create opportunities. When you look for mercy, your life begins to feel merciful. You become what you magnify. If you constantly replay pain, pain becomes your world. If you constantly replay gratitude, gratitude becomes your peace. Life reflects the posture of your soul. A bitter soul sees bitterness everywhere. A hopeful soul sees new beginnings even in endings. When your vision changes, your surroundings change too. Because the same world will always mirror the heart that's watching it. Try to remember, the lens through which you see others is often the one you use on yourself. When you start seeing people with compassion, you'll start treating yourself with gentleness too. And when you begin to forgive yourself, you'll find it easier to forgive them. The world softens as your vision heals. Don't rush this process. It takes time to unlearn old ways of seeing. It takes time to train the eyes to notice hope again. But every small moment counts. Every smile you choose over frustration, every blessing you notice instead of ignoring, every apology you accept instead of arguing. Each one adds another drop of light into your heart. And slowly, without realizing it, you'll start to see that life has been whispering kindness all along. You'll see how some rejections were redirections, how some delays were forms of protection, how some losses were disguised as preparation. The world didn't suddenly change, your vision did. That's the quiet miracle of growth. It turns what once hurt you into something that now helps you. You stop saying, "Why did this happen to me?" and start saying, "Maybe this happened for me." Faith grows in that shift. Peace lives in that space. The eyes that constantly look for faults become blind to beauty, but the eyes that look for meaning become full of wisdom. When your inner sight clears, even simple things start to feel sacred. A cup of tea shared in silence, the warmth of sunlight on your hands, the laughter that fills the room after days of sadness. These moments were always there, but your new sight allows you to feel them fully. And that feeling, that quiet joy, is what people call peace. You'll find that you no longer chase it. It begins to chase you, because peace follows perception. It follows gratitude, not achievement. It follows stillness, not speed. The moment you stop chasing what's missing, you begin to see how complete the present already is. You realize that you don't need every question answered to rest. You just need to believe that the answers are unfolding at the right time. That belief brings a softness that no success can replace. It brings patience, humility, and balance. It brings freedom from comparison, and slowly the heart begins to breathe again. No longer choking on what if, no longer drowning in if only, just breathing in right now. Right now is where life actually happens. Right now is where peace waits. Right now is where your power returns. You become lighter when you choose to see light. You become calmer when you choose to notice calm. You become deeper when you start seeing purpose instead of pain. The world around you doesn't have to change first. The change begins inside you. And once it begins, it spills outward into how you speak, how you love, how you move through the world. People will notice it even if you say nothing. They'll see it in your patience, in your gentle replies, in your refusal to complain. That's what true vision does. It changes everything silently. When others rush to judge, you'll pause to understand. When others panic, you'll breathe. When others see loss, you'll look for lesson. You'll become the calm in the chaos, the one who reminds others that hope still lives here. And in time, you'll realize that seeing beauty is not just a skill, it's an act of worship. Because when you look for good in everything, you're actually acknowledging that everything was designed with wisdom. The eyes that see light in others are the same eyes that learn to see light in themselves. So if today feels heavy, look again. Look deeper, look slower. Don't rush to decide that the story is over. It might just be that you're still standing in the middle of the lesson. Sometimes the most beautiful chapters are written after the page you almost gave up on. Keep turning the pages of your life. Keep seeing with faith, not fear. Keep choosing meaning over misery. Because every single time you look for light, you become it a little more. You won't notice the change right away. It will happen quietly. One morning you'll wake up and realize that the same things that used to make you anxious now make you calm. The same waiting that used to feel unbearable now feels peaceful. The same pain that used to feel endless now feels purposeful. That's when you'll know your sight has healed, and you'll whisper to yourself, it was never the world that changed. It was how I chose to see it. Happiness is a form of worship. Happiness is not found, it's remembered. It's not something you chase, it's something you return to. Because deep inside, every heart lives a small light, a light that was placed there long before pain, long before disappointment, long before the world convinced you that peace must be earned. That light is joy, pure, innocent, simple. The kind you felt as a child when the world was still wide and every sunrise felt like a personal gift. And that joy, that quiet contentment is not just emotion, it's devotion. Every time you smile with gratitude, you are worshipping through appreciation. Every time you find beauty in an ordinary day, you are praying through awareness. Happiness is not the absence of struggle. It's the ability to see mercy inside it. It's realizing that every heartbeat, every breath, every chance to start again is already a gift far greater than what you lost. The world teaches you to seek happiness in outcomes. New job, new house, new approval, new love. But faith teaches you that happiness begins before any of those things appear. Because real happiness is not created by possessions. It's created by perception. You can't worship with a restless soul. You can't find peace while constantly waiting for something else to arrive. So the Creator, in His wisdom, doesn't always give you what you want. He gives you what will wake your gratitude. That's why sometimes He lets you lose what distracted you from noticing how blessed you already were. And when you finally stop running, you begin to see happiness is not something that comes after you're healed. It's what heals you. There are people who have less than you, but live with lighter hearts. They smile with sincerity because they've learned the secret that joy is not earned by getting more. It's protected by needing less. Every thank you is an act of worship. Every genuine laugh is a small prayer in disguise. Every peaceful sigh is a form of remembrance. When you allow yourself to be happy despite difficulty, you are saying to the heavens, I trust you even now. And that trust itself is worship. You see, gratitude and happiness are not separate. Gratitude is the root, happiness is the fruit. And if you keep watering your heart with gratitude, joy will keep growing even through the cracks of pain. Sometimes people think being happy means being careless, but the truth is, happiness built on faith is the highest level of awareness, because it means you understand that everything is temporary, and yet you choose to smile anyway. The smile that rises through tears is one of the most beautiful forms of faith. It's the smile that says, I know my story is not over, and I know my author is good. Happiness in hardship doesn't mean denial. It means seeing beyond the moment. It means recognizing that pain and peace can exist in the same heart. One teaches you patience, the other teaches you presence. And between those two, you discover the kind of happiness that never depends on circumstances. Close your eyes for a moment. Think about the last time you laughed without reason. That moment wasn't random, it was a reminder. A whisper from above saying, you are still capable of light. Every time you choose happiness, you are choosing to honor that light. Even on the hardest days, the choice remains to see the blessing or to see the burden. And whichever you choose will shape the day that follows. You become what you focus on. If you search for what's missing, you live in scarcity. If you search for what's here, you live in abundance. The heart becomes what it praises. If you constantly rehearse problems, you worship worry. But if you constantly rehearse gratitude, you worship peace. So ask yourself gently, what have I been worshiping lately? Fear, comparison, regret, or the quiet contentment of knowing that what's written for me will find me? True happiness begins when you stop bargaining with destiny and start trusting its rhythm. When you stop asking why me and start saying guide me, that shift changes everything. You begin to find happiness not in having control, but in surrendering it. Because once you stop needing to control life, you start feeling alive in it. Even when things go wrong, you'll see that happiness can still live there. Not loud but steady. Not perfect but pure. It lives in a mother's smile through exhaustion. It lives in a friend's laughter between storms. It lives in the quiet moment you realize you didn't get what you wanted, but you still got exactly what you needed. Happiness becomes sacred when it's chosen with faith, because then every joy you feel is no longer random. It's a reflection of trust. There is something deeply spiritual about choosing to smile in the middle of difficulty. You are telling your soul, even if I don't understand this, I believe it's leading me somewhere good. That belief keeps your heart alive, because despair closes the heart, but joy opens it wide enough for hope to enter again. And hope, that quiet, glowing thing, is the first step toward healing. Sometimes you'll be afraid to feel happy again. You'll think, if I relax, something bad will happen. But life is not meant to be lived holding your breath. It's meant to be lived with gratitude in motion. When you smile with trust, you are not tempting fate. You are thanking the one who wrote it. You've been searching for happiness all your life. In people, in plans, in the next thing waiting just beyond reach. But tonight, you finally remembered where it truly lives. It lives in gratitude whispered through tears. It lives in trust that breathes quietly through chaos. It lives in the smile that rises after prayer. Not because everything is easy, but because your heart has learned to rest even in the unknown. Happiness was never something you had to chase. It was something you were meant to protect. It's the peace that sits beside patience. It's the calm that follows surrender. It's the light that appears when you stop asking why and start saying thank you. If you've made it here, if you've listened this far, you've already done something sacred. You've worshipped not with words, but with awareness. Because when the soul finds meaning, when the heart finds trust again, That's a prayer that no voice can describe. So take a deep breath. You made it. You survived another night. And you are still being carried gently, silently, lovingly by the one who never lets go. Keep this peace close. Carry it into your days, your laughter, your silence. And whenever life feels heavy again, remember, you are allowed to be happy because your happiness, when rooted in faith, is not a sin. It's worship. Soft pause piano fades into silence. And as this night ends, may your heart rest, knowing you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep seeing the good, thanking the source, and smiling from the soul, because sometimes that smile itself is a prayer.